What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Stateside Gunner podcast, talking all things Arsenal all the time, except for today. Today, we are talking about the World Cup. I'm going to give you my full bracket breakdown. We're going to talk about the upcoming stars, my predictions of who's going to win, Golden Boot, disappointments, dark horses, all that fun stuff. I hope you guys are so excited for the World Cup. Obviously, taking place in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. I am going to a match. I'm going to go to Sweden against Japan in Dallas. Super excited about that one. And then other than that, I will be watching every game that I possibly can. Hopefully that means basically every game. For those of you who may not know, I obviously am a United States fan, but I'm also a huge France fan. I started my French fandom back in 2016. I was younger. I was watching the Euros during the summer. I didn't really have a European team to cheer for. I didn't really know kind of who I wanted to cheer for, and I was watching a France game, and I thought, okay, France, they have cool colors. They're flat. I like their flag. I was a huge Paul Pogba fan, so I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's rock with France. And since then, things have gone pretty well. Obviously, France winning a World Cup and then going to a final against Argentina, right? So, yeah, I'm a French fan. I've been following them since 2016. Um, I can't, it is weird. It's slightly weird to have that team that you're also a fan of that has really not a whole lot of correlation to you. But yeah, France fan, United States fan, but overall football fan, and that's the most important part. So, um, let's dive into um my bracket. I'm gonna share the screen here, and we're gonna go through my World Cup bracket. We're gonna go step by step. We're gonna go group by group. It'll be fun. We'll kind of dive into every team or almost every team if we can, and then get to the latter stages. There are some really excited matches. So, starting off Group A, Mexico. I think this is a lot of these groups are great groups. I do think Mexico's home field advantage is something that not a lot of these countries are prepared for. As a United States fan, watching a lot of these games where we've had to go to the Azteca, it's scary. It's a crazy environment. I think they're going to be up for it. I think Mexico do have enough to top the group. I think the only real competitor to them is Korea Republic. I think Czech Czechia have always been a decent side, but I think with two big dogs like Korea and Mexico, and then be on the lookout for our South Africa as well. Um, I think the game that it's going to come down to is Korea versus Mexico, and I do think that Korea is the better team, but there's something telling me that Mexico will take top in that group, and then obviously Korea going second. This is where you kind of toss up. I think the experience of Czechia being in plenty of these tournaments could benefit them highly, but I also think South Africa have the good vibes. Just for the fun of it, I think on this one I'm going to go South Africa and then Czechia. Switch those two. I'm not sure. Group B, I have a friend that's going. Shout out Elijah. He's going to go to the Switzerland Qatar match. He's a huge Swiss fan. I think that Switzerland are the best team in this group. Personally, I think Switzerland topped the group. I know Canada again also having home field advantage, but I don't think that that's going to be as strong and prominent as the Mexico home field advantage or even the United States home field advantage. Um, Look, Bosnia and Herzegovina are also a great squad. They have a lot of experienced players. They got through in the playoffs, which I think sometimes can actually help them. It can be to their benefit. They're actually training in Salt Lake, where I live, and that'll be super fun. We might go see that. Um, Look, I don't think that Canada are a bad shout. I think Qatar are probably the worst team in this group. I'm gonna go Canada to finish second, and then Bosnia and Qatar. I think you could switch either of these. Um, and maybe I'll come to a different feeling later. But yeah, Group C. This is another, fantastic group. Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. Um, this one I think has been my hardest to predict because I could see either of these two taking top. I don't think that Scotland are actually that good, but they're there for the vibes, and I think the vibes can sometimes carry you throughout a World Cup. I do think Brazil have what it takes to top this group. I think Morocco, while they are a solid squad and they're really, they have the experience. They knocked out Brazil before. They went to the semifinals of the last World Cup. Something just tells me that Brazil, will be locked and loaded. But don't be surprised if Morocco take top here. And then I'm going to go Scotland, and then I'm going to go Haiti. Again, another group where I think Morocco could place top of the group. And again, maybe I changed my mind. I will say this Brazil squad is not. It's not actually as impressive as past Brazil squads. I think that their defense isn't the best. Gabriel and Marquinhos, I think that's a huge partnership. Or Bremer, whoever's back there. But I think their fullbacks are struggling. I do think that their midfield is probably the weakest part of the team. And then their attack, you have obviously Vinicius Jr. and you have, you know, Igor Thiago's going, and you have some of these other players that Neymar, obviously, but you have some of these other players. Gabriel Martinelli has played well for them, but do they have what it takes? I'm not quite sure. And you know what? I think in doing so, I'm actually going to switch this. I'm going to put Morocco top. I think the reason being is Morocco's a more gelled team. They've been on the bigger stages together. They've the AFCON, whatever we think of it, that was an experience for them. And I actually think that they do have what it takes to top this group. I think I actually talked myself out of taking Brazil first. But again, another one where it could go either way. So I have Morocco, Brazil, Scotland, and Haiti. Going into Group D, this is the United States group. Look, the real threat here is Turkey. I do think that Australia are better than people give them credit for. I think they're better on the attack. They know how to set up well defensively. They have had some solid results in friendlies. But I think Turkey, obviously, Kenan Yildiz, Arda Güler, Çalhanoğlu, they have players that have been here before. The United States, the host nation, or one of the three host nations, I should say. These two did meet in a friendly, and it didn't go great for the United States, but they do play last in the group, and that could be a really important game. I'm going to go slightly homerist here and say that the United States take first place. They I don't feel comfortable about that. I'll take Turkey a second, and then I'll go Australia and Paraguay. Um, this one could really come down to a few different things. I think United States are a better team. I think Turkey play with some real sparks of individual flair and quality, but as a team overall, I'm not quite sure. Um, but it's going to be a fascinating game. I'm going to go slightly homerist and say that the U.S. take first, but I easily, my heart says the United States, my head says Turkey, so we'll go with the heart. Why not? It's a little bit more fun. Group E, another really fascinating group: Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Watch Germany play a few games. They don't look overly convincing. I do think that they're slightly an underwhelming German side. Really unfortunate about Leonard Carl. So yeah, and they barely beat the United States. I know it was a friendly, but I'm going to go hot take here. I'm going to say that Ivory Coast take first place in this group. I think that Ivory Coast are a very interesting group. They're really fun to watch. They have a lot of attacking playmakers. And it's just a group that I think has a lot of momentum rolling into the World Cup. I'm going to go Germany and then Ecuador. I do think that Ecuador are a very solid team. I will have them eventually going through for sure. But I think Ivory Coast really could get at Germany. And I think where Germany is weakest is at the back. And with that being said, I think Ivory Coast, their attack is really strong. So I'm going to go hot take. I'm going to go Ivory Coast taking the first place spot. I know that German fans aren't overly high on their team, which is really interesting. I think the mass public is more high on Germany than German fans are. So that's definitely an interesting one. It's a hot take, and again, this is a little bit of excitement and logic. So there are always groups in the World Cup that don't go how you think they're gonna go. So maybe this is one of them. Okay, moving on. Group F. This is the group that I'm gonna go see. Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. A really interesting group. I think honestly you could see about any of them taking top. Netherlands definitely the favorites here. I think they're probably the best team as a whole. Whether or not they're going to place top, I'm not sure. Japan, experience, knocked off. They've killed, they're giant killers. They've done things before. Incredible fan base. Sweden has the momentum. Gyökeres, Isak. I think that they could make some noise. And Tunisia, again, another constant in Euros, a constant in World Cup. So they're another group that they've been here and done it. They don't necessarily move on from groups or make a lot of noise long term. However, they're another team that could be reckoned with. I am going to go Netherlands here. I think Netherlands plays the top. I just think that they're overall a better team than the other three. And that's where my hesitancy is with teams like Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. I don't know if I back their entire team. I think Sweden have the attacking prowess for it. I think they have a couple good defenders, but overall as a team, Netherlands are just the best team. And honestly, if they don't place top, I think that's a concern. I'm gonna go Sweden number two. I I just feel like they are riding a high and they're in good form, and I think sometimes that's all you need. Japan, I will place third, and Tunisia fourth. I think Japan are a very solid squad. I do think that this second place could come down to the game that I'm going to, which again is Sweden versus Japan. Look, Japan have a lot of experienced players, but at the same time, are they going to be able to handle the attacking prowess that Sweden has? Alenga, Isak, Gyökeres. I don't know about Kulusevski. Is Kulusevski at the World Cup? I can't remember. I also think that with the likes of Bergvall, and I think Sweden has enough to play second over Japan, but it will be an interesting one. Again, another one where you kind of convince me either way. Group G. This is a really I will say this is a slightly underwhelming group, but it's also interesting. Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. Look, obviously the overwhelming favorite would be Belgium. I do think that Belgium aren't as good as every World Cup. I feel like Belgium is hyped up and they're never what they really are presented to be. However, I think that Belgium plays top in this group. I don't think that any of the other teams in this group have enough quality overall to overtake Belgium. Um, in second place, I'm going to go Egypt. I think Salah, Marmoush, I think that gets you enough of what you need. And then I'm going to take Iran. I think Iran's always one of those interesting teams. We saw them in the last World Cup battle in the United States' group, and that was an interesting group. And then New Zealand, I'm just not sure that they have enough. And maybe that's not a hot. I don't know. All right, moving on. Group H: Spain, Cape Verde or Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Look, Spain are, it's no doubt about it, Spain are the favorites or one of the favorites to win the entire thing. I think rightfully so. They are an amazing team. Uh, Cabo Verde, a new team. I think they're really excited to play, but I'm not sure they could get out of this group. Saudi Arabia, we've seen what they can do on the big stage against some big teams. Obviously, the last World Cup beating Argentina. And then Uruguay, always, always, always a solid squad. Uruguay's never won that I think as of late is going to make it to semifinals and finals, but they're a squad they have a lot of quality. I mean, Fede Valverde alone, I think Darwin Nunez, Araujo, there are plenty of solid players in the Uruguayan squad. I do think that Spain come first. I just think that they have too much quality. Again, I think with some of these groups, obviously Group E may be different, but I think overall you just have to look at the overall quality of the entire squad, top to bottom, and it's Spain. Second place, I'm going Uruguay. I don't think that it's particularly arguable. I think that they have a really solid chance to get out of this group and a solid chance to maybe make a run. I'm going to go Saudi Arabia third and Cabo Verde fourth. I think Saudi Arabia, again, have enough experience and have enough players to do what they need to do to potentially get out of the groups. And I'm not sure that Cabo Verde does. But who knows? I would love to see an upset there. Group I. This is an insane group. This one is nuts. France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. France, another co-favorite to probably win this tournament. Senegal, coming off of the insane AFCON, but they always have the quality and individual flair. Iraq, a team that you never can take for granted. They have dangerous players. And then Norway, their first World Cup in a long, long time. Martin Odegaard, Oscar Bob, uh, Erling Holland, of course, Sorloth. They have a lot of solid players. Um, got in a scrappy one the other day against Morocco. I am going to take France to take top of the group. I just think their experience is going to come into play. I think that's where Iraq and Norway in particular are going to struggle. As much as I think Norway have the quality of squad, I'm not quite sure that they have enough top to bottom to place first. And I also not sure they have enough to place second. I'm going to take Senegal second. I think Senegal are a really, really great team. They're always such a fun team to watch. One of my former soccer coaches was from Senegal, and he always talked so highly about the way that they play. I just think I think Senegal is a safe bet at second. I think Norway gets in through the next round in third, and then Iraq in fourth. Now, could I see Norway take? I could see any of these top three teams taking top. I just think that with the experience that Senegal has and the players top to bottom, the way that they gel over a Norway, I think could be key here. But look out for Erling Haaland to bag some goals in the group stage. All right, almost there. Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't think that there's much else that I need to say about Argentina. We'll talk more about them later, especially in this group. I'm not quite sure that there's even an argument there. Algeria, Austria, Jordan. I think that this is an interesting one. I think that Algeria or Austria could battle for second here. I'm not quite sure about Jordan. I will be honest, I have not watched a lot of Jordan football. I think honestly, I think Austria are. It's so tough. Austria tend to be underwhelming. They're one of those teams where people say, look out for them to make a run, and they never do. But they very well could. I'm going to take Algeria second, and then I'm going to put Austria third. I think Algeria just have some more playmakers than Austria, and I think that's what you need. Could see those two switch as well. Jordan, maybe they make some noise. It'd be fun. I know that they haven't been in a World Cup. I'm not quite sure if they've ever been in a World Cup. Maybe check my ball knowledge there. I'm not sure. Group K. This one is spicy. Portugal, uh, Portugal, Uzbekistan, Colombia, and is it the Congo, right? Yeah, right. I'm gonna click on them to make sure. Yeah, they're not coming first, but I'm just checking. Um, so obviously where you're looking at are the two big dogs, Portugal and Colombia. I think two dark horse teams for this tournament. It's kind of crazy to call Portugal a dark horse, but I think with some of the higher up teams, Argentina, France, Spain, maybe you even throw in, England, Germany, but I think Portugal have. I'm going to take Portugal taking top of this group. Okay, technical difficulties over. Took me a second. Okay, here's how I think the group could play out. I think Portugal and Colombia are the two favorites, obviously. I think Colombia are a very, very dangerous team, one that I think could top this group. But I think Portugal are one of the best overall squads in the entire tournament. I don't think that that needs to even be explained. Diego Costa in goal, I believe. Nuno Mendes, Vitinha, João Neves, Bruno Fernandes, Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Pedro Neto, Ronaldo, Rafael Leao. I just think that this team is ready to go, and I think that this is probably their last shot in a minute um, to really, really go for it. Uh, Colombia are dangerous. They looked amazing. Obviously, in the Copa America, going all the way to the final, probably could have won the whole thing, but I think Portugal just edged them. I think Congo, I put third because why not? It's the vibes. Uzbekistan, obviously a solid team. They have some solid players, but I think Congo, I go for the vibes. So we're gonna go for the vibes with the Congo. Okay, Group L: England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Look, Ghana are exciting. They're fun to watch. They have plenty of talent in Iñaki Williams, uh, Antoine Semenyo, of course. They have Thomas Partey still, Tariq Lamptey. There are plenty of good players. Croatia, I think, are towards the back end. I think they're declining a little bit. They still have Modric. I think this is his last World Cup. Um, Kovacic, Gvardiol. There are plenty, all the itches in the world that you need. But I think England should and will place top in this group. They just have too good of a squad to not. This is where it could get spicy. I'm going to take Ghana second. I just am not convinced by this Croatian side. I know that Ghana haven't been fantastic, but I think that they have enough to get the job done. And then I'm going to take Croatia and then Panama. Um, I have seen Panama time and again, and they are a tricky team, but they're not enough to give, I think, anybody in this group massive fits. So those are the groups. We're going to continue to so there are 8 of the 12 third best teams in this advanced tournament. So that gives us Croatia, Japan, Iran, Ecuador, Austria, Australia, Norway, Scotland, South Africa, Congo, Saudi Arabia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm going to immediately take Norway. I'm going to immediately take Ecuador. I think those are two dark horses to maybe make a run, even if they don't place top in the group. I'm going to then go with Japan. I think that they're too good to not get out of the group stage. I'm going to go with Scotland. I think the same thing. They could get out of the group. Um, and then this is where it gets interesting for me. I think Croatia, they could take enough away from Panama and maybe even Ghana to get out. And then this is where you really start to look at. You have Congo, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Bosnia, Australia, Austria, Iran, and we have 3 teams that we can take out of those. I think with that, I'm going to take Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think that there's something there with that squad. I do think that Saudi Arabia could. They're in a group that they could very well get points out of. Austria, Australia, Iran. This is like, you know, it's really, yeah, dealer's choice maybe. I think I'm gonna go Austria just because of the experience, and then for a vibes pick, what do we think? We got a vibes pick in here somewhere. Maybe South Africa, Australia could do well. Um, oh, man, I'm gonna go Saudi Arabia to come out of the groups. Uh, so that leaves Iran, Australia, Congo, and South Africa heading home. So here we go to the knockouts. First round of 32 in New England. We have Ivory Coast and Scotland. I think Ivory Coast have too much for them. Scotland's dream is over. No Scotland, no party, and sadly, the party will not be continuing on past the round of 16. France and Japan, I think that's a fun one. Japan have that giant killing ability. I'm not quite sure that they can do it again, though. France, I think, move on. Korea and Canada at SoFi Stadium. That's a really, really interesting matchup. I think Canada's dreams end here. I'm not quite sure that they're a good enough team to move forward. This is a fantastic matchup. Thinking about the fact that we could get Netherlands, Brazil, round one. Obviously, I took Morocco to place second, to place first, which would make Brazil second. Netherlands, Brazil. That's such a tricky one. Um, the Netherlands do have a lot going for them. Unfortunately, Jurrien Timber out of the World Cup with an injury. I don't think that that's going to play into why they could lose or not lose. Um, Man, I'm really not sure. I'm going to take Brazil here. I know that I said that Brazil didn't have enough to top their group, but I just think the Netherlands had a slightly easier group. And I'm going to take Brazil. Maybe it's an easy pick. Colombia and Ghana, I think that's a really, really fun affair, but I think Colombia just have too much for them. Same with Spain and Algeria. I'm not sure Algeria have what it takes to knock out Spain. USA, Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think United States hopefully go through. Belgium and Saudi Arabia. This one could be wild, but I'm going to go Belgium. Morocco, Sweden. This was a matchup that I was debating between. I do think that Sweden could make a run here. I just think Morocco are a better squad. I'm going to go Morocco. Germany, Senegal, another really, really fun matchup. I think that Senegal could pose Germany a lot of problems, but I also just think that Germany, oh man, Germany could be in place for an early exit, and maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Um, Maybe we'll come back to that one. I think Mexico, Ecuador, that's a really, really fun game, but Mexico City, I'm going to give it to Mexico. I can't see any other world that Mexico loses to Ecuador at the Azteca. England and Norway is such a fun game. Um, Norway do have potential here, but I just got to go England. Um, I don't see. Tuchel is a really good tournament manager. England have always gone far. They don't always make it to the final. but I just think they have too much for Norway. Argentina and Uruguay is like this. This is why I think some of these matchups, or this World Cup in particular, is so fun, is because you really don't know. This whole thing could just be, I'm putting my neck on the line here and just saying, I think that these are going to happen, but this is why I like this World Cup with the expanded format. You get insane matchups like these. I'm going to go Argentina. I think they just have too much for Uruguay. Turkey and Egypt. I mean, again, this is where I'm nervous. This is why I need the United States to place first in the group, because if the United States have to be here and then they have to go play Argentina, they're cooked. Um, I'm gonna give it to Turkey. I think that they're on the rise a little bit more than Egypt. I know that they had to play in the play-in to get in, but their individual flair is what gets them over the line against Egypt. Switzerland and Austria. I'm gonna give it to Switzerland. I think they have a really young and exciting team, whereas Austria, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't know as much about them. Portugal and Croatia. I think Portugal have too much for Croatia. Back up here, Germany and Senegal. Man, it's so tough. I would love to see this matchup. I would love to see this game. I think they're both really, really solid squads. I'm going to give it to Germany. I do think that they have enough to get in over Senegal. Back to the top, Ivory Coast and France, a rematch. Ivory Coast did take down France recently. That was a bit of a shocker in a friendly, obviously. But I just have to go with France. Now, here's where I could see some issues for France. I think that the France midfield is just not good enough. I don't think that the France midfield is good enough. I really think that not taking Camavinga is a huge miss. I know people were flaming him online saying that he has been in poor form and he shouldn't go, but I just think that he is so experienced with this squad that is a huge miss. I think their midfield is a big problem long term, but I'm gonna take France against Ivory Coast. It could go either way. I really do like the Ivory Coast in this tournament. Korea and Brazil. Look, another rematch. I feel like we've seen this one before. I'm gonna take Brazil. I think that they have something going for them. Maybe they're a little bit inspired after the Netherlands win and not placing top of their group. And then this one, man. This is an incredible game. Monday, July 6th in Dallas, Spain, Colombia. Um, wow. This is one that I'm gonna have to stew over for a minute. So let's try to go through. USA, Belgium. Look, I think Belgium are the better team. I don't think that the United States have what it takes to hang against a Belgium. Um, they could really pull out a miracle there. I just don't see it. I think we saw them play in a friendly and Belgium absolutely wiped the floor with the United States. I don't see a world in which you could get demolished in the fashion that they did and then beat them in a round of 16 games. So I think the US dream ends here. Morocco, Germany, I think another fascinating one. Morocco could make a long run again. I think this one, after Germany getting their feet underneath them, beating Senegal, I think Germany go through. Next, Mexico, England at the Azteca. That will feed families. That would be such a fun game. I really hope we get to see this. Um, England are used to hostile environments, I feel like, at least the English players are. I think Mexico will be roaring to go against. I mean, could you imagine the scenes if England are knocked off by Mexico in the round of 16? Incredible. I just think England are too good. I do. I know that people say it's not coming home. I'm not saying that it's coming home, but I just think that England are too good for Mexico, and Mexico's dreams also end here. Argentina, Turkey. I think Argentina are too good. I don't think Turkey are a complete squad. They just have too many individual flair players. Portugal, Switzerland. I mean, Switzerland are fun. They do have some fun and exciting players, but I think Portugal are too good. Moving forward, well, actually moving back, Colombia and Spain, man. This one is so hard for me. I do think that Colombia are the type of team that could stop Spain or could get whooped by Spain. I think the reason I say that is because they're so open and attacking forward that it doesn't do a whole lot of good for them defensively. where it could leave them open for Spain. I think Spain are just the better squad. I'm going to take Spain to go through. In other brackets, I've had Spain going out here. This is my bracket that I'm going to stick to now. So, France, Brazil. We've seen this before in the friendly. I think that Brazil are not as good as people think they are. I think France are still that good. France go through. Spain and Belgium, I think Spain. I think Belgium, I don't think they're good enough to keep up with Spain. Germany and England is a really, really fun matchup. And this one is also insane. Argentina, Portugal, all the marbles. I'm going to go England and I'm going to go Portugal to knock off the holders, which then makes our semifinal matchup France and Spain and England and Portugal. What an incredible, incredible group of games those are. Um, we've seen France and Spain before. We saw it in the Euro final. I do think that Spain are arguably the best team altogether in the tournament. Um, France are my team. I love them. I think they have the attacking prowess to really give Spain some problems. I'm not quite sure the Spain back four can do enough against Olise, Mbappe, Doué, Barcola, Cherki. Uh, but at the same time, I'm not sure that the France midfield can keep up. Excuse me. I'm not sure the France midfield can keep up with the Spain midfield. Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Mikel Merino, Martin Zubamendi. That's a really solid midfield. I think this is going to come down to. It could really, really come down to the wire. I'm going to take France. The reason being, and look, this could be a hot take. I just don't think that it's as simple as Spain won the Euros and we view them as the best team, so they're going to go through. I could be wrong. France could get knocked out long before this. Spain could get knocked out before this, right? But I just, bias aside, think France are the better attacking team. Look, Lamine Yamal, incredible. Then where? I just think that it's going to come down to the fact that France have too much attacking power for Spain's defense, and I think that France's midfield could get exposed in this game, though their midfield is not the strong part of their team. I'm going to take France to go through. England and Portugal, look, man, England have to do it at some point, right? You'd think, but I don't know about against this Portuguese side. I think it's a tough game. We saw Nuno Mendes against Bukayo Saka in the Champions League final. I think Mendes got the better of him, obviously. Um, Declan Rice, Vitinha in the midfield. We saw that in the Champions League final. I thought Rice looked solid, but Vitinha, John Neves. I think Portugal, man. I think this would be crushing for England. Another semifinal exit. Um, I know. I believe they got on the quarters or the round of 16 the year before, or the World Cup before, but they'd lose, and they lost in the final to Spain. They lost in the final to Italy of the Euros. They lost in the semifinals to Croatia. It's just heartbreaking, but I think that Portugal, that midfield alone, I think could carry them to the final, which is where we get France and Portugal in the final. What a final that would be. Absolute fireworks of a game. Um, I do think that look, I think that there are plenty of teams that could win this tournament. I think that there are plenty of teams that could go far. This is just my bracket. I don't know. Look, I know ball, but I don't know if I know, I can't predict this. There are so many games, so many teams. Um, look, I'm actually going to go Portugal. I really think that they could make noise. I think the reason being their midfield is so so good. This is a team that has been together for a long time. They gel. Joao Neves and Vitinha play week in and week out together at PSG. Bruno Fernandes just won Premier League Player of the Season. Rafael Leao, I think, is going to be motivated after knowing that he's basically playing for a summer transfer move. Ronaldo's last dance. You still have Bernardo Silva last dance probably. Ruben Neves, Nuno Mendes, Ruben Diaz. I mean Ruben Neves too, but Ruben Diaz, Diego Costa's a good keeper. I just think Portugal have what it takes. I would hope that France win this. I mean, just because I'm a French fan, but man, I think that this would be a cracking final. And I hope that there are certain groups that maybe don't go the way that I predicted them. just so we don't have to see some of these matchups earlier on. Colombia, Spain, that's such a shame that that's not later on. France, Brazil, quarterfinal, I think that's about fair. France, Spain, I mean, I think that could be a final, right? Um, but England, a lot of these teams, Argentina, it's just the luck of the draw. So that is who we are going with. We are going with Portugal as our champions. I guess this isn't on my logged in on my FIFA account, but that is where we go from here. So, quick little break, and then we're going to talk about some predictions about dark horses, players to look out for, teams that could get knocked out early, things like that. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's talk some predictions for players to look out for, dark horses, all that kind of stuff. I think I'll give you a couple players to look out for. I think Yandi Mande, as much as he is hyped up right now, he does look like he's going to get a move to maybe Paris or Liverpool. I don't think that people realize how electric and how fun he is and how good he is. And he is definitely one to look out for. I think Kenan Yildiz. These are some players that maybe are obvious to some, but not to others. I think that Kenan Yildiz is going to put on a show in multiple games. And I think that he could be the reason that they get as far as I predicted Turkey to go. I think Yildiz is a baller. But yeah, Yildiz is a baller. And then next, I'm actually going to go for, I believe it's Antonio Nusa. Nusa from, yes, Antonio Nusa. Just double checking. This guy is a baller. Antonio Nusa is an absolute baller for Norway. He plays for Leipzig. He only had 4 goals and 4 assists this season. That being said, I think a lot of the focus is going to be on Erling Haaland. I think it's going to be on Odegaard, and I think that Nusa could be a nuisance for plenty of teams. Look out for Nusa. For some of the maybe not underrated, but I think the United States do have some good players. I think Tyler Adams could be a player to watch. I think Christian Pulisic is always a player to watch. Um, Anthony Robinson's really good. But I think Mark McKenzie, center back for the United States. I'm going to double check who he plays for. I think he plays. Um, yes. He plays for Toulouse uh, in France. Mark McKenzie is a baller. He is a really solid center back. I think that he could get a move this summer based off of how he plays. And maybe it's just, okay, Thatcher, what do you know? But I think Mark McKenzie is a player to look out for. Look, other than that, there are plenty of other players, but those are some of mine. Last during the Euros, I said Xavi Simons, and that didn't go very well. So who knows? I think dark horse teams. Dark horse teams. I'm going and dark horse for me doesn't necessarily mean a team that's dark horse to win it, but for me, I think dark horse to go far. Obviously, Portugal. I had Portugal winning the whole thing. I think that they're the best overall squad, really. I mean, Spain probably, but I think Portugal are right there. Um, but to go far, I think Norway are solid. They could make a run. I think Senegal could make a run. I think that Sweden maybe not make a run, but I think Sweden could win a knockout game. I'm going to go back through the bracket just so I could look at some of these other teams. Colombia. Colombia are another really good team that I think could go farther than maybe people are anticipating. I'm not sure as many people from Europe watch this Colombian side as often as the people from North and South America. I think Colombia are very good. And then obviously I said Ivory Coast. I think Ivory Coast are a great team. I think that they could go far. I think they could knock off a big dog, and maybe that is France. We don't know. I said that they top the group against Germany. I think Ivory Coast are a really fun and exciting team. And then other than that, I think you know, there are a lot of teams. I think Ecuador is also a very good team. Mexico, they could go far just with having the home field advantage. Um, but look, I think those are some good dark horses. Again, not to necessarily win the whole thing, but to go farther than people are expecting or make more noise than people are expecting. I think disappointment team. I think disappointment team's Brazil. I just don't think that they're as good as other people think. I know that I had them going, moving forward. I had them beating the Netherlands and beating Korea and then getting to the quarterfinals. But I just don't think that this Brazilian team has what it takes to get any farther than that. I think the Netherlands, them beating the Netherlands would be a feat of its own. Um, I'm just not convinced by this Brazilian team. I've seen them play quite a few times, and I'm just not sure that they're it. And maybe that comes back to bite me. I think Spain, I think Spain are a team that are either going to win the whole thing and everybody's going to be like, well, duh, told you so, or they get knocked out earlier on. I, I almost took Colombia to beat Spain in that round, and I think that there are other circumstances where maybe they don't place first or they play a different team. I had another bracket where I saw where they could play Portugal. I think Portugal are the better team right now, personally. Um, I just it's the easy answer to say Spain, which is why I'm hesitant to just say Spain. I think the same thing goes for the French team. As much as I say that they went to the final, they could easily get knocked out early as well. I don't think that the midfield is a solid midfield for them, and I think their defense is more sketchy than people give them, more sketchy than people are willing to look at. Uh, but I just think that France's experience is what can get them over the line. I think Spain, you can say the same thing for the Euros, but in the World Cups of past, they have really struggled. Um, so I think those the two big dogs, and then I would say Brazil. I think Brazil could be a team that that might disappoint a lot of people. I do think that Belgium too. I think Belgium could end up in the quarterfinals, but because of the path that they have, in my path they played Saudi Arabia and the United States. I just don't think that those are teams that Belgium should be losing to. Um, yeah, those are maybe some of my disappointment teams. Um, I think Croatia too. I don't buy into this Croatian side at all. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna have to see how it goes. I think Golden Boot I'm gonna give to Mbappe. I know it's a basic answer, but I think he just has a knack for scoring in the World Cup, and we've seen it. Mbappe for Golden Boot. I think the winner is Portugal. I think the best player of the tournament could be Vitinha, or um, I think any of those Portuguese midfield three could win it all for Portugal. Um, yeah, that's it. That was our World Cup preview. I think it's super fun. Look, don't get me wrong. I could be completely wrong on this bracket, but I just went with what I think. And I told you my reasoning behind a lot of the decisions. I'm looking forward to watching the World Cup every day, especially that is in my country, so I don't have to deal with the bad times that other people have had to that I've had to deal with the last multiple World Cups. So, looking forward to it. Let me know in the comments down below. You think I'm right? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm wrong? You think who do you think's going to win it? Who do you think's going to be the Golden Boot winner? Who's going to have the shock early exit? It's all going to be happening really soon. World Cup starts tomorrow. So excited. As always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll catch you on the next one. Come on, you Gunners.